In this tutorial, we're going to go over how to create a drawing of the Titan 88L in Fusion 360. Let's first take a look at the Titans of CNC drawing so we better understand what we will be creating. In our upper left-hand corner, we have this table here with our external thread data in it. This information can be found in the tables inside of our machinist handbook. To the right of the table, we have our front view, and to the right of that, we have our right-hand view. Going back to our front view, if you notice, we have our section lines here, and dropping it down, we have our bottom view, where we can see we have this construction geometry of this circle in place. On the bottom here, where our threads are located, we have a detailed view, and we can see that to the right. In our bottom left-hand corner, we have an isometric view, and their particular drawing has another detailed view showing the major, minor, and pitch diameter of our threads. We are going to disregard this particular detailed view as this is not necessary. We're going to jump over to Fusion 360 and create this drawing. I'm over here in Fusion 360. The very first thing that we need to do is we need to change the orientation of how Fusion 360 is recognizing our part. When we created this part, we created it with the z-axis facing up, which means that our x-axis is going left and right. And with that in mind, this is currently our bottom view. If we go over to our front view here, this would be our front view. However, according to our drawing, they want this to be our front view. And you can see in our view cube up here in the upper right hand corner that is currently my left view. To fix this, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the view that is stated here, which will orient your part in the workspace. And then right click on this and go down to set current view as front. And notice now our view cube states that is the front view. We need to save our part before we move into our drawing workspace. After you save your part, we're going to go up to our toolbar, over to design, and go down to drawing from design. In our pop-up window here, it's asking, do you want everything in this modeling workspace to be a part of your drawing? And we do. We are going to be creating a new drawing here, and the template that we're going to be using can be found in one of my other videos on how to create a title block template. And then press OK. The very first view that Fusion 360 is going to land for us is our front view. We're going to change the scale of our part because this part is kind of small in diameter. We're going to change its scale to a 2:1 scale. And then we're going to choose its style to visible edges. We're going to land our front view kind of in the center upper region of our sheet, left clicking and then pressing OK. Off of this, we're going to create our right view. We're going to go to Drawing Views to Projected View. We're going to reference our front view here and drag our mouse to the right, giving us a right view. And then what we're going to do is drag our mouse down to the bottom here, and that will give us, or actually we'll drag our mouse over here to the bottom, and that will give us an isometric view. Afterwards, press Enter on the keyboard, and that will lock those views into place for us. We're going to come up to our right view, and we're missing some tangent lines here, so we're going to double left click on this view, and we're going to turn the edge visibility on for tangent edges for full length. And notice now we see those tangent lines there. We're going to go down to our isometric view, double left clicking on this, and we're going to change it from a wireframe into a shaded with visible edges only part. And then close that out. Notice now we have kind of an angled isometric view, and that's looking good. We're going to go back to our front view, and we're going to add in our section view now. Up to our toolbar where drawing views are, this time now down to section view. We're going to click on the front of our part, and we're going to kind of mouse gesture over to the center location and drag our mouse over, left clicking on the outside of our part, and over to the other side, left clicking again, and then press enter on the keyboard, and that will give us a section view. Now we're going to drag our mouse down, giving us this bottom view, and then press OK. Lastly, we're going to put in our section view, or excuse me, our detailed view. We're going to go up to drawing views, this time to detailed view. We're going to click on our section view, and we're going to position our mouse kind of in the center of our threads here, and we're going to drag out our mouse, giving us this detail, and then we're going to drag our detail over to this area like so. Now that we have all of our views present on our sheet, we're going to start adding our dimensions. We're going to zoom in here to our front view, and we're going to go D on the keyboard for dimensions, and we're going to click on the outside of our part here and land our dimension. Afterwards, right click, press OK to get us out of dimension mode. What I want you to look at right now is notice that our annotations are only set to the 10,000ths column, and we want them set on this particular sheet to the thousandths column. To change this, we're going to go down to the bottom center where it says annotation settings. We are going to choose display trailing zeros, and then we're going to change our linear dimension precision to the thousandths column, or 1, 2, 3. This is very important, especially when it comes to tolerancing of your parts. Now that we have our diameter stated for the outer portion of our part, we're going to jump over to our right-handed view. We're going to add some other dimensions here. We're going to go D on the keyboard, and we're going to click in this little fillet right here and drag our mouse up. Afterwards, we're going to right click and press OK, getting us out of that dimension mode. We're going to double left click on this particular measurement, and we are going to indicate that this fillet is typical of 2 different times. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in our chamfers, which are on the outside of our part here. We're going to go and use a text with a leader line for these. And we're going to click on this angled line here, dragging our leader line up. And this time we're going to type in chamfer 10,000ths 45. We're going to insert a degree symbol, typical 4 instances, and then close that out. We're going to move down to our detailed view now. In our detailed view here, we've got some corner fillets. We also have our diameters. And then we also have our chamfers for our lead in and lead out for our threads. So we're going to go D on the keyboard for dimensions. This time we're going to click on this line segment here on both sides, giving us our diameter of our thread relief. The next diameter that we're going to set in here is from crest to crest, so the top of our thread, to the top of another thread on the other side, and drag our mouse down. And then lastly, we're going to, while we're in dimension mode, we're going to add this corner fillet in and drag that over. And we're going to right click and press OK. There are 4 features that share this radius here, so we're going to double click on that. We're going to also indicate that this radius can not be anything larger than 20 thousandths. So we're going to type in max, typical 4 times, and then close out that edit window. We're going to drag our measurements over here to the left side, so I'm going to click on them and drag an extension line over and repeat this on this other one. Like so. I'm going to add a diameter symbol in front of these. That way we know that that is a round boss there. So I'm going to double click on the measurement, click in front of the bracket, and we're going to insert the GD&T symbol for diameter and repeat that on this other measurement. We're going to call out our chamfers for our threads here. We're going to use a text with a leader. We're going to put this right off of that angled there. And we're going to type in chamfer 35 thousandths at 45 degrees. Typical 4 times. And then close that out. One thing that I want to clarify a little bit more up here on this particular measurement is the width of our thread relief here. We can double click on this measurement and we can type in the width of our relief at 65 thousandths. And if you want, you can also type in the length of our threads here. We're going to double click on that and repeat the length at 300 thousandths. And those are just clarifying information. This information can also be derived from our bottom view. Next thing I'm going to do over here is, notice how my text box is over the top of my title block. I'm going to click on this and drag that up a little bit. I'm also going to double click on it and change its size from 240 thousandths to 100 thousandths, and then close that out. Now we're going to take a look at our bottom view. Before we start adding in some dimensions on our bottom view, we're going to actually have to put in some construction geometry. We're going to go up to our toolbar under Geometry and down to Centerline. We're going to create a center line running down the center of our part by clicking on these 2 vertical edges on the outside of this flange. Right click, then press OK. And then we're going to click on our center line and drag our mouse down to the bottom edge. And we're going to repeat that again dragging our mouse up, referencing off of the top edge. Please be very mindful that this center line needs to be anchored to the top edge here, otherwise your ordinate dimensions will not work properly. We're going to go over to ordinate dimensions. We're going to snap our 0 right on that center line and then drag our mouse over. We're going to right click and press OK. And we're going to change the primary precision of our 0 location by double left clicking on it. And in our pop-up window, change this to 0 and close it out. Now that we're ready, we're going to go back to ordinate dimensions. And we're going to start adding in some of our dimensions here. For example, we're going to find this backside of our thread relief, or this would be the backside of our threads, where the thread relief starts. Then the other side of the thread relief, or the start of our flange. Backside of our flange. And noticing while I'm adding in these dimensions, I'm always going back and referencing the extension line from my previous dimension. That way I get all my dimensions in alignment. Now I'm referencing the 0 or the center location of this inscribed circle here. The front of the flange, back side of the flange, to our thread relief, and then the bottom of our part. Now that we've got those ordinate dimensions in, we're going to switch into our diameter dimensions. We're going to go D on the keyboard, and the one measurement that we're going to choose here is basically the width across this flange here. I'm going to click on the vertical line and then the other vertical line, giving us that dimension. Afterwards, we can right click and press OK, and we can drag that dimension out with an extension line. The next dimension that we're going to add in is the dimension of this inscribed circle. We're going to go to dimensions, down to diameter dimensions for this one. I'm going to click on this side of the circle and drag our mouse over, and that will kind of give us this like a construction geometry indicating that that's a circle there. And then right click and press OK. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in a table in the upper left hand corner for our external thread dimensions. In our toolbar, we're going to go to tables, down to table. In our pop-up window here, we're going to choose empty table because we want no data to be in there. And we're going to snap that to the upper left hand corner like so. Then afterwards, we're going to click in one of the cells, and we're going to delete the columns down until we see just a single column, and then we can close this out. Now I'm going to start entering in my thread data here. I'm going to click in this first cell here and type in external thread data. These are 3/8, 16, unified course, class 2A threads, because these are external threads. I'm going to bold this up a little bit as my header. and then I'm going to close this out. You can adjust the table over as you see fit. And I'm going to leave mine like this. Underneath, in cell number 2, we're going to type in major diameter. And we're going to change the major diameter, its height, to 100 thousandths. And we're also going to bold this up. Cell number 3, we're going to type max in there. And then this particular value of 373 thousandths 7/10. We're going to change its height to 100 thousandths. And we're going to change its justification to middle left. Cell number 4, we're going to go minimum to 364 thousandths 3/10. And we're going to change its height again to 100 thousandths and its justification to middle left. Repeating for cell number 5, this time for mean, 369 thousandths. Change its height to 0. Its justification to left. Notice we've ran out of rows here. If we double left click on the previous row and hit tab on the keyboard, that'll give us another row to work with. This time we're going to indicate our pitch diameter. And I'm going to hit tab again while I'm here. Oops. And I'm going to change my justification of this to center. So middle center. And then I'm going to bold it up. I'm going to go back to cell number 7. Type in max. 333 thousandths and 1/10. And change our diameter to 100 thousandths. Close that out. Hit tab. Type in minimum this time. 328 7/10. Tab again. Minor diameter. We're going to bold this up a little bit. Again, changing our height and then our justification to center. We're going to change our height again. This time it's going to be max. And the height will be 100 thousandths with a left justification. And our last row, which is our minimum minor diameter, 288 1/10. We'll close that out. Now I believe I missed some of these over here, so we can always go back after the fact and readjust these. But it looks like I got them all. Now that we've got our thread data in place, we're going to update our title block. We're going to come over to our title block. We're going to be clicking on the lines that make up the title block. This will open up our attributes here. Our material, we're going to click on that and type in 6061 T6AL for aluminum. Then we're going to move over to our revision block here. Click in here and type in A for revision A and close that out. It's a good opportunity. Double check your sheet here and make sure that you don't have any dimensions extending off of the sheet. You can always click on your view and kind of drag those dimensions or drag that entire view over, getting it away from the edges. Make sure that your sheet is easy to read and comprehend, and it's well organized. Other than that, this concludes our tutorial on how to create a drawing for the Titan 88L.